is a very classic example. I like this one. Okay, so for this question, again, notice how the triangle is very, 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 I guess you could say bare on the inside. We know no angles, no clue, no clue, no clue. That should be a very, very obvious reason why the law of sines cannot be used. Because if you go back to the formula, right, I have the law of sines formula up here. See how we need at least one angle and two sides, or both angles and one side? So I have no knowledge of any angles at all. So if I have no knowledge of any angles, the only thing I can do is rely on the law of cosines. So now you're thinking, okay, but I know that the law of cosine starts with a side length, right? How do I know which side to pick if I know all three sides? Well, the answer to that comes from which angle do you want to know? So here I want to know angle C. So if you want to know angle C, then it might make sense to start the formula with the side across from it, or little c. So our formula is going to be c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. Okay, so let's plug in everything that we know. Across from big A is little a, across from big B is little b. So I know that little a is 25, I know little b is 23, I know little c is 14, and I want to know capital C, right? Okay, so let's plug it in. So this will be 14 squared is equal to 25 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 25 times 23, cosine C. Okay, so please be careful when you are solving for a missing angle. And I'm going to tell you what I noticed that a lot of kids do. They see a string of numbers, right? So they see all of this and they think, I'm going to go into Desmos and I'm going to put all of that and then I'm going to get an answer. So let's say you go into Desmos, blah, blah, blah. You put all of that and you get, I don't know, 50. So then they do this. And then 14 times 14 is 196. So they do this, they divide by 50, they divide by 50, blah, 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 and they think life is good. Okay, please do not do that. Let me say it again. Please do not do that, because you are completely neglecting the order of operations. So if you remember, I know that it's weird because we're dealing with sines, cosines, and stuff like that, but PEMDAS still applies. So that means that we have to do multiplication and division before we do addition and subtraction. So notice this subtraction right here. Well, there is a multiplication over here that takes priority. So what I recommend doing is solving this, and then tacking on the cosine C. So let me go into Desmos real quick. Let's see, 25 squared plus 23 squared. So let's see, 25 squared plus 23 squared. So that's 1,154. So this is 1,154. Now I'm going to go into Desmos and do negative 2, 25, 23. Negative 2, negative 2 times 25 times 23. Negative 1150. Minus 1150 times cosine C. Let me bring this closer. I'm going to write this in red to make it obvious that this is linked. Okay, so what I see kids do over and over and over and over and over and over is they see this and they just write 4. please be very careful. That's the same as doing this and saying that this is 8. There's a variable attached to that 2, so I can't just go ahead and subtract those. And the same reason there is a cosine C attached, so we cannot just ignore that, right? We have to follow the order of operations. So I wish we could do that, but instead we have to be careful. So this is 196. Okay, so here's what I would do. So 196, 1154, oops. 1154 minus 1150 cosine C. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is, just like any other equation, get rid of this first. So I'm going to do minus 1154 minus 1154. Decimals will help me with that. 196 minus 1154. 196. So I get negative 958. So this is negative 958 is equal to negative 1150 cosine C. Okay. Now, this is a multiplication, so we get rid of multiplication with division. So divide by negative 1150. This becomes 1, so that can kind of cancel. And so now I'm going to go into decimals and do negative 958 divided by 1150. Negative 958 divided by 1150. And I get negative 0.833. So this is negative 0.833 equals cosine C. And if you remember from the law of sines video, or last year, or whenever, we can very easily get rid of this cosine. Again, just to get you used to the synonyms, we can get rid of this by doing either cosine inverse, or I taught you this in the law of sines video. They're the same. Cosine inverse and arc cosine are the same thing. So C is equal to arc cosine of negative 0.833. And I know I went out the box a little. Let me go into decimals. Arc cosine of negative 0.833. And we can see that the angle is 146.41. 146.41. Oh, oops. I just realized an error, because I was like, wait, that angle looks way smaller. I forgot the negative sign. So right here, when I did negative divided by negative, that should have been positive. So let me go back to decimals real quick. Let me do 33.59. That looks a little bit better. So it's always good to ask yourself if your answers make sense, because that's exactly what I did, and I found my mistake. So what did I say? 33.59. 33.59 degrees. Yay!